Hello, everyone. I wanted to pop in really quick before you listen to the episode and just let you know that this was a really vulnerable, touchy subject for me. So I do get emotional towards, I should say, between the middle and the end parts. But I just wanted to let you all know that it is okay to be vulnerable. It is okay to cry. It is okay for other people to see you cry. I know that I'm not the only person that, deals with mother and father issues. But I hope that you all grasp from the episode that it's okay to speak your truth. It is okay to let people know that they hurt you. And it is okay to start learning how to trust others so that we have a good support system to get through all the bullshit that we have in our lives. So please, 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 if you ever need assistance, please feel free to reach out to me. I always have my social media handles. I'll put my email down. Anything. If you need help, you need to reach out or speak to anyone, please contact me because I will be more than happy to support you, listen to you, share my stories, because that's why I do what I do, because I want to help everyone that I can. So please, I hope you enjoy this episode and get your tissues. That's all I can say. Enjoy. Hello, everyone. It's Alyssa Amison with Love, Light, and with the Shits. Hope you all are having a fantastic morning, afternoon, evening, night, whatever the time is, wherever you are. I hope that is going great for you. I am back and I got a doozy of an episode today. It's a loaded one. We're going to be talking about mother wounds and inner child stuff because this is something that I have really, really been working on myself for a very long time. And luckily, I feel like I've gotten to a place of peace and have gotten resolution on my own. And so I want to, of course, share that with you all so that if you are having issues with mother wounds, inner child issues, childhood trauma, that we can work together and try to find a happy place, because it's crazy when you think about how when you come into the world and as you grow up and you have you just feel like you're just fucked up. Like you just have all these problems and you're like, half of the shit isn't even mine. Like a lot of the things that we go through come from our families. They come from our parents, our grandparents, and on down the line. And it's just stuff. It's just continuous cycles that no one has broken yet until those cycles and issues met you, because you are the GOAT and you are the one that's going to change the foundation for the generations to come. So kudos to you, because I know that you want to fix this and I know that you're going to be the one to fix it because you're here. So you have already taken the first step in acknowledging your shit and figuring out what you need to do to fix it. So I'm all here for it. So like I said, today we're going to be talking about mother wound stuff. And because it is such a loaded topic and it's very intricate and it's very triggering, I will say that this will probably be a multi-segment thing. Like I'm going to have multiple episodes on this because I don't want to feel rushed and feel like I'm just trying to fit everything into a 30, 45 minute hour episode, when why not take my time? Let's delve into the stuff and we're going to, give us plenty of time, to listen to what I'm talking about, get some steps to see how to help. And it just doesn't feel rushed. Okay. So, let's start off with me. Of course, every episode that I make, I have a story for the topic. So mother wound. Woo. I've actually been wanting to record this episode for a long time, but to be very honest, it is a very emotional topic for me because I do not have a great relationship with my mother due to the religion that she's in. And I have mentioned like snippets of, like how I've grown up, snippets about my parents and about my mom in some of the earlier episodes. So if you're not 100% for sure, if you're just coming to my podcast, I highly suggest you start from the beginning, because everything kind of builds up. It starts with the background and then everything kind of builds from there, so you can understand where I'm coming from. But to sum it up, my mother's a Jehovah's Witness. Both sides of my families were Jehovah's Witnesses also. That is a religion that I grew up into until I became an adult. I left the religion around age 19 and pretty much was on my own, because they operate under the understanding that if you are not a part of that religion, then you cannot be in any type of communication with anyone who is. So that means parent, child, immediate family, best friend, anything. If one of you is still in a religion and one of you is out, basically you're never supposed to speak to each other again. Now, granted, is that besides even the fact that that's crazy, let's just put that to the side, but it's just very impractical not to have any communication whatsoever to your immediate family. So my father passed away when I was 18 years old. So in a sense, a lot of times I do feel like I'm an orphan. I feel like I don't have any parents. My father is not physically here. My mother is physically here, but I really can't. I can't bond with her or have a relationship with her, because she is still very active in the Jehovah's Witness religion. So it's very hard. It's harder to have a parent alive. And this is all my opinion. I feel like it's harder to have a parent who is alive and you can go see whenever you want to, be able to talk to whenever you want to, and not have a relationship with them, than having a parent who is deceased. Because at least, if your parent is deceased, they're gone. But when you have a parent who is alive and you can't talk to them because of a religion, it's very heartbreaking. And I'm going to try not to cry today. That's why I have taken so long to record this, because it is very emotional. And I'm a very sensitive person, and I don't think a lot of people see that on me, because I don't show that side very much. But I'm a very sensitive person. I may not emotionally react to things, but things do affect me deeply. My feelings get hurt very easily. I'm a very sensitive person. So things like this, it is very hurtful, especially when I'm at my age of 33. Like right now, me and my mom should be like BFFs. Like I have my own kids to raise. Her kids are grown, and it's like her part in raising me is over with. We should be having fun right now. Like I should be calling her, like, to, pick her brain about certain things, to where now I'm, as an adult wife and mother, things that I would go to my mother about, but I don't have that luxury. Now, if there was an emergency, or if I needed to discuss something important with my mother, I can do that, but that's not what I want to do. Like, I don't want to just talk to my mom about important or heavy stuff. Like, I just want to talk to my mom, but I don't have that. So rewind a little bit. I have also mentioned before in earlier episodes about my childhood growing up. Now, I want to say this before I delve into it. We have to realize that trauma is different for everyone. A lot of times when we think of childhood trauma, we think of, and trigger warning, I don't mean to upset or offend anyone, but I'm going to be speaking about kids who may have grown up in harsh conditions, such as abuse, whatever form it may have been, neglect. Maybe they had parents who suffered from substance abuse problems. I think a lot of times when we think of trauma, we just think of the big things. And sometimes people can try to have a contest with some of the bullshit that they went through, to basically be like, well, oh, you didn't go through half of the stuff that I went through. It doesn't matter. And I'm not saying that your trauma doesn't matter, but what I'm saying is the extent or the amount of your trauma does not matter in comparison to another person, because trauma is trauma. It doesn't matter what the event was that happened. If it traumatized someone and affected their lives, it's trauma. So I want to say that. So if maybe I was speaking to a regular person and I'm trying to explain to them about how I grew up, they may be like, girl, ain't nothing wrong with how you grew up. You grew up good. You got everything you wanted. You were spoiled, da, 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 da. And I'm like, yes, that was a part of it. But now that I look back, the spoiling, the giving, and the buying of things was all as a makeup for all the emotional bullshit that I had to go through, you know? And so it goes back, and I've said this in earlier episodes before, that my father was very ill before I even was born. He was sick, but he continued to get sicker. So in his standpoint, he did not know how long he was going to be alive when I came into the world. And so his motto was like, she's going to have any and everything that she wants, so I can give her, you know, a good life before I leave. Well, granted, he made it till I was 18. So I was very spoiled, but on the other hand, I had a lot of responsibility growing up. A lot. I would have literally been like a little adult my whole life. I don't know what a lot of childhood things are. Did I play with my cousins? Did I do things that kids do? Yes. But in addition to that, I did a lot of things that adults do also. I was very instrumental in helping raise my younger sister, who's 10 years younger than me. I had a lot of responsibility. I was her second mother. My father was very sick. He was in and out of the hospital a lot, especially during the last year of his life. My mother had to be with him in a different state, in a different hospital. I'm at home at 17, helping take care of my sister. Now, granted, you know, we did have family that lived across the street from us that helped somewhat, but we only went over there to spend the night. That was it. But anything else during the day or the evening time was up to me. Like, I took my sister to elementary school. I took myself to high school. Leave school, pick her up, come home, do my homework, help her with her homework, cook dinner, you know, do her hair, make sure she was in the shower. We would do all that and then literally just put our pajamas on, go across the street to spend the night over there, and then wake up and go back home and start all over again. So that's a lot. It's a lot. I paid the bills while my mom was gone. You know, I knew how to go online and pay bills. I knew how to go to the water company and all that stuff at a young age. Like, I did all of that. When my dad was really sick, sometimes and my mom had to go to work, I would stay home from school and stay home with him. Anytime he went to the hospital, I was there with him. Now, on the surface, that looks like, oh yeah, that's what family's supposed to do, right? You know, you always do for each other and make sure everything is good. Yeah, but we do not learn that you can't put everything on somebody just because they're your family. You cannot put expectations on your children just because they're your children, or they try to guilt trip you into, oh, well, I brought you into this world. And it's like, yeah, you brought me into this world. You know, like, why do I have to repay you for something that you did? Like, that's my initial reaction. You know, like, you're trying to guilt trip me into something in an adult act that you and my father did. So, like, what, you can't use that as an excuse for making me do all this stuff. Like, a lot of times, and I feel like in Black families, people have kids and it's like they just use their whole existence as a whole guilt trip. And it's not right, because we shouldn't be having children to enjoy, to help raise and to navigate through life. We don't have kids to be our own personal little slaves. Okay. We don't have kids to make them do all the chores all the time, to make them watch their brothers and sisters. Those are not their kids. They're not their kids. Like, of course, you know, you want siblings to look after each other and stuff, but I'm not putting that responsibility on my child, especially the oldest, because the oldest always gets the shitty end of the stick, to be very honest, as far as when it comes to responsibilities and stuff. That's not my child's responsibility to care for his sibling. It's his responsibility to be a sibling, not a supplemental parent. And so a lot of times, you know, depending on the household that you grow up in, Black kids go through so much stuff way earlier than their other counterparts do, whether it be white, any other, I'm not going to say any other race, but I'm just saying, like, Black children start going through trauma and having PTSD at very early ages, but it's not being labeled as that. It's them being labeled as rebellious or being fast or, just being angry or argumentative. No, honey, those are signs of PTSD because our children have been exposed to a lot of stuff at a young age. And especially if you grow up somewhere where you see people getting robbed all the time, you see people getting murdered, you see people having these abusive and violent relationships. You are constantly, our children's systems are exposed to so much. And so, but Black and brown kids don't have the privilege of being psychologically helped or having these mental health diagnoses that puts them on another path. They're basically just labeled deviants or thugs or whatever you want to, any other derogatory names. So we have to realize that a lot of us, like I said, it doesn't have to be full on abuse or anything. It could just be not living in a healthy environment, and that affects us. And so for me, I didn't realize that I had a hard childhood until I became an adult. And I say that because I had traits inside of myself that all stemmed from a mother wound, from an inner child who was wounded. And so the way that it showed up to me was being very hyper independent and operating in masculine energy a lot, like just getting shit done. Like, I don't have time to wait and ask and beg somebody to do something when I need it done. Like, I'm just going to go ahead and get it done because nobody else can do it as good as me. Right. Having a lack of boundaries, because me growing up, and of course I didn't know that then, but I'm an empath. And I've mentioned this a little bit before, but an empath is a highly sensitive person. They are a light worker who's been specially placed on the earth to help others. And an empath basically the word empathetic or empathy. And empathy is you feel somebody else's emotions. Like, I can walk into a room and I can feel what's going on with people. That's why I don't like to be around a lot of people, because it's very overwhelming. My nervous system gets overwhelmed very easily because I'm feeling everybody else's emotions. And what an empath does basically is like lightens the load. It's like you absorb other people's energy and they feel better after being around you, but then you feel like shit, So I have always been that, but I didn't recognize that until a few years ago. So as a kid, I was doing my empath thing and basically making sure that everyone around me, like in my house, was good, even though it was taking a toll on me, even as a child. So I always wanted to be perfect because, one, that's pretty much what was asked of me. I wasn't really allowed to make mistakes or to not have good grades or just anything that like a regular kid or teenager would do. Like, no, I was held to a very, very high, rigid standard, which is really unreasonable when you think about it. But it caused me to be like, I didn't really cry a lot as a kid. Like, as I got a little older, like, I probably cried more in the last 2-3 years of my life than I have ever, because I used to hold everything in, because I used to always feel like, well, my dad is sick, my mom is working, she's stressed out. Let me not be so present to where I don't burden them. That's kind of always felt like that was my job, was to emotionally regulate everyone else. And that is not the job of a child. It is way too much. It is not right. And I'm all fucked up now as an adult. But, I can laugh at it now because I've done so much work. But even still, I'm 33 years old and I still have a lot of issues that stem from mother issues. And I'm not saying that my father was perfect, but my main issues have been with my mother. And so also with my mom, I felt like she always resented me because of the relationship that I had with my dad, because my dad treated me like a real life princess. He got me whatever I wanted. It didn't matter what she said. She could say no all day and he was still going to do whatever he wanted to do for me. And so I felt like she would always take that out on me because my dad wouldn't let her whoop me. And that's not saying like I wasn't even like a bad kid like that. I was like one of the most boring little kids ever, like I am now. Like I really didn't do shit. I read books. Like I would read encyclopedias for fun. Like I've always been like this my whole life. And so I've always been a bookworm. So it felt like every time I would get in trouble, it was when he wasn't there. It was like that was her opportunity to whoop me or to put me on punishment or something. And it just always felt like she was always taking her frustrations out on me because of him. And that's not to say I was abused or beaten or anything like that, but it just like little stuff I would get whooped for, but it would have never happened if my dad was there, just to put it like that. Now, so we have that going on. Also for me, I'm a people pleaser, which I'm working on that, but that goes back to the lack of boundaries. And that goes back to me always having to emotionally regulate everyone else. I wanted to make sure that everybody was happy. I never wanted anybody to be mad at me or upset at me. So I was basically molded into being a people pleaser and putting everyone ahead of me. And I still battle with that now, like putting myself, out and putting other people's needs or wants over mine, and that's something that I'm working on now. Like I'm doing really good with enforcing boundaries and saying no a lot more, but that's something that stemmed from my childhood shit, was not saying no to people, always wanting to make sure everybody is perfect, everyone is fine, everyone doesn't need anything, and me, I'm over here about to die. But other people, they were more important than me. So my trauma also showed up as having codependency and abandonment issues, because, like I said before, if you're not a part of the religion anymore, you basically got to go. So at a very formative time of my life, I was put out by myself and having to figure out this world that I have been sheltered from forever. And so when you think about it, it's really emotional abuse and emotional manipulation to basically force someone to live their life a certain way, and saying that basically your basic needs of love, shelter, protection, and all this is going to be taken away if you do not follow this religion and follow our rules. Like, that's crazy. Like, you shouldn't do that to your kids. So that led to me having, like I said, codependent problems in my relationship, having abandonment issues, because I feel like if I'm not going along with what maybe my partner wants, or if what other people want, that they're going to leave me, or I'm going to, be by myself again. So, and also it all leads up also to not being able to be vulnerable because you don't feel safe. You're not able to express yourselves. And I feel like we all know that in Black houses, if your parent tells you something or asks you a question and you try to explain, they automatically say you're being disrespectful. And it's like, we can't even practice effective communication, because when I say something that you don't like, even in the most respectful tone that I can, I'm being labeled disrespectful. And that is so dysfunctional. It's so dysfunctional. And so it's like, a lot of times Black women struggle with being assertive. We're either passive for some things, or we're super aggressive and bitter. We don't have that middle ground because we were never given that middle ground to express ourselves. So that's how it looked in my adult life. And I also struggle with being creative. And I think I mentioned this in one of the last ones, but being creative should be fun, right? It should be an outlet. It should make you feel good. For me, it is the exact opposite. Being creative stresses me the fuck out, because I was raised to damn near be perfect. I could not make a lot of mistakes. If I made less than an A on a report card, I was in trouble. What kind of sense does that make? I don't know, especially with how chaotic my childhood was at times, like with my dad being sick, or with my mom being gone with him when he's sick, and I'm trying to take care of my sister and myself, and I make a B or a C, and it's like, World War III, like, I'm confused. And so it's like, I know our parents do the best that they could with what they had, because a lot of the things that they learned were from their parents, but like I said, it comes to a point where as you grow up, you become an adult, and especially if you have your own children, that you have to say, this is a fucked up way of doing things, and we got to do something different. And that's where I am at. And when I tell you, like, I'm super proud of myself, because I feel as if I am a fantastic mother. I don't get it right all the time, but I feel like I'm a pretty awesome mother. And I feel like me and my husband together are pretty great parents. And we let our kids express themselves, as long as they're respectful. If not, they are corrected, but we let them have fun. We let them express themselves. We allow them to have bad days, because people forget that children are humans. We always want to make kids don't cry. What you having a bad day for? You ain't paid no bills. You ain't got no job, and all this other. They're humans with hormones. Hello. So it's like we put all these crazy expectations on these little children who are not mature, but we don't do that for ourselves. So why are we putting all that pressure on our kids? So what we try to do is we try to have an open dialogue, with our kids, and let them tell us what's going on in their own words. And it works, because when you basically put the fear of God in your kids, they're going to be real sneaky. Okay. FYI, they're going to be real sneaky. They're not going to tell you shit. And what's going to happen is they're going to really get in a jam or a big problem, and they're not going to trust or feel safe enough around you to express themselves. And what's going to happen is you're going to find out about it later, and it may be too late to help them. So we need to stop being so aggressive in our dealings with our children. And just think of it this way. If you saw someone, if there was a teacher who was disrespectful to your child, cut them off, never let them express themselves, never let them tell them when something is wrong, you would be upset. But you sitting up here doing the same thing to your kids. You can't abuse your kids just because you gave birth to them. You can't. It's wrong. You can't. And if you feel that way, you don't need to have children. And that's just what it is. Like, we have to show more love. Of course, our kids need discipline and they need guidance, but they don't need abuse. And I feel like a lot of kids that were growing up, they got a lot of corporal punishment and discipline because of their parents and the bullshit that their parents went through, maybe from the day, maybe at work. But those parents come home and they take that shit out on their kids, and the kids ain't done nothing to them, So it's like, I wanted to make sure that I broke the cycle of not having these dysfunctional parent relationships, learning how to deal with my shit so that I don't reflect that on my kids, because it's not right. It's not their problem. I have to have my shit together. And that's the thing, like, when, a lot of times, kids aren't planned. Kids happen, happened to me. Didn't plan either one of mine. But something clicked in my head that said, okay, I got to do better. I need to make sure I have a career. I need to make sure I have a job. And so that's the things that I was thinking about before. But then as I got older, I'm like, damn, I need to fix my issues so I don't put them on my kids. My emotional issues. I want to make sure that I don't do to them what happened to me. And I feel like that's where we all need to look at, because it's so easy to always say, oh, this is just how I am. This is how I grew up. But you are not who you were growing up. You don't have to be that person. You can change anytime that you want to. And granted, it may not be easy, but you can do it. But a lot of times people just use that as an excuse because they don't want to do the work. They don't want to delve into the hard stuff, the shadow work, all those rough memories. People try to run and drown out the stuff that they went through. But you will come to find that shit never goes away. It never goes away. All you're doing is just burying it and burying it and burying it until it explodes like a volcano one day. And then it's a bunch of shit and you're like, oh my God, like I didn't know. So for me now, like I'm in the world of personal development and coaching and whatnot. I like to hit my shit on head on now. Like, I'm not burying it. I'm no longer putting on a mask or a facade like I have all my shit together. Like I'm all that. No, like I'm a fucking train wreck some days. It's a lot of days. But I'm working on it. I'm addressing it. I am working on it. And not only do I work with it, myself, but I have a coach that I talk to regularly. I went to therapy before. Like I've told y'all many times before, there is nothing wrong with reaching out to get help. And I think that is a community issue because we're not very trusting people because people in professional settings have done us wrong, historically. And a lot of times too, in Black households, it's always what happens in this house stays in this house. Don't go tell nobody my business. I'm not going to tell nobody my business. And it's nothing but secrets. It's secrets that come back to bite everybody in the ass at the end of the day. Okay. And I'm sick of that shit because all it is people tell you that because they don't want their shit aired out that they did. And instead of apologizing and acknowledging the shit that they did, that they do to their kids, they want to keep it a secret. And then when their kid grows up, an alcoholic or a drug addict, or who has all these depression and anxieties, PTSD and all this other stuff, they don't know why. I don't know why they did that. I raised them good. No, you didn't. You lied to them basically their whole fucking life. You lie to your kids. You don't allow them to express themselves. You threaten them with violence all the time. How do you think you're going to raise an emotionally balanced and stable person? You're delusional. And so I feel like it's time for us to break that mold. Stop the secrets. Stop being so bitter. Stop being so just unwilling to listen to your children when they're trying to tell you that something is wrong. Because it's not right. And we have to recognize, it's as parents, we have to take responsibility for our shit. And just because we have children who may not be adults yet, we still have accountability. There have been times that I've had to apologize to my kids because I may have snapped on them about something that didn't have nothing to do with them. Or I may have jumped the gun and accused them of doing something that they didn't do. And guess what I do? I apologize and I tell them I'm sorry, I was wrong. There's nothing wrong with that. I don't know why parents have such an issue with that, but children deserve respect also. Children are not accessories. Like I said, they're not our slaves. They're not our personal cleaner, housekeepers. They're not our personal babysitters. They're our children. They are our gifts. They are our offspring. They are our future. We should be pouring into them and giving them love and giving them confidence and, giving them knowledge to help them grow into the adults that they need to be. And so, like I said, I feel like this is a very big problem in our community, and I want to start to help change the narrative. It's just like, being kicked out at 18. Just because somebody is legally an adult at 18 does not mean that you just get to kick them out and they got to start, working and paying bills. This world is going to eat up our kids soon enough. And my plan is my kids can stay home as long as they want to. I don't care. As long as you're being productive, as far as, are you going to school? Do you have a career? Are you respectful? As long as you're following these things, I'm not in a rush to kick my kids out of my home. Now, of course, they're going to have to move eventually, but 18, 19, hell no. They're not ready to go anywhere unless they want to go to college. But I'm not putting that pressure on my kids as soon as they turn 18. Oh, you got to get a job. Oh, you got to pay half these bills. No, we're setting our kids up for failure. Okay, we're setting our kids up for failure. And I feel like a lot of parents do it because they want to make their kids struggle like they did to prove a point, which doesn't make any sense because all in all, every generation is supposed to walk so the next one can sprint. And when you're being bitter and holding on to the bullshit to basically hurt your kids on purpose to teach them about life, that's not right. Life is going to affect your kid one way or the other. Okay, we should prepare them on how to live. Of course. We should teach them how to be responsible. Of course. but not by just kicking them out the nest and saying, good luck. No, we need to give them the tools to do so, show them love, help them learn how to save as they're younger, give them a good start for them to start their lives. Like, it's not going to make them, weak. It's not going to make them less appreciative. It's helping your kid. That's what you're supposed to do. I don't know. But I feel like it's a generational thing sometimes too. But I'm going to tell you what, if I got to go through the bullshit so that my kids can cruise through their lives when they get older, that's what I'm going to do. And when I strike it rich and when I become a multimillionaire, my kids are going to be straight. My kids are going to have a trust fund. My kids are going to know how to manage money. My kids are going to know how to run businesses. So it's not going to be a handout, but I'm not going to purposely kick my kids down just to teach them a lesson. Let me kick you down before life does. No, we don't do that. I'm not doing that. I don't know what anybody else want to do, but I'm not doing that for my boys. No, they will be taught how to be good young men. They're going to be taught how to work hard, but they're also going to be taught how to enjoy life and to be happy and to have black boy joy and not always someone breathing down their back and telling them what they're doing wrong or telling them to toughen up or telling them to man up. No, my goal is to teach my kids how to express themselves properly without always having to resort to violence or strong words, to be able to care for themselves, to be able to cook for themselves, know how to clean, to not be expecting that from no woman, for them to be able to know it's okay to make mistakes, and to know that your parents are always going to have your back regardless. I don't care what happens. I'm always going to have my children's backs. Now, that doesn't mean that they can walk over me like a doormat. Of course not. But I'm always going to be here for my kids, no matter what they choose to do. As long as you ain't, stealing from me or being disrespectful or trying to buck at me, we're good. But other than that, I'm always going to have my kids back. I don't care what it is, point blank. So it's like when your parents put conditions on their love and support for you, that is damaging, because that's exactly what happened to me. If you leave the religion, I can't love you like I did before. Which I know my mom loves me. I'm her child. I know that. But when people are brainwashed and they're in a religion, it's like it's unnatural. And it's like that's the only thing that they focus on is that religion and the people in it. But, they can't see outside of it how unnatural it is to not have a bond with your child that you gave birth to and raised. Is very unnatural. And so I used to be very hurt about it growing up, and I'm still hurt. Some days I have good days and bad days. And me and my cousin, our mothers are sisters, and we both are going through the same thing because he's a very spiritual person. He is a psychic, and he does other things, and he doesn't have communication with his mom too. So it's like a lot of days we take turns crying to each other, about our moms, because we miss our moms. Like who wouldn't miss their mom? And kids always are going to want their parent. I don't care how shitty of a parent you are or how bad you have mistreated them. Kids still want love and approval from their parents. So it's something that's very hard to deal with, as you can tell. But it's okay because I just make sure I do better with my kids, and that's all I can do. And so, sorry, y'all. Whew, okay, deep breath. So that's why I share my story, because I want to show you all that it's okay to be vulnerable and to be hurt and to express that. And, of course I could, pause, get myself together and come back and record, but this is real life. And it hurts, but we have to figure a way out to fix it. And that's why I do what I do. And that's why I'm here to
help others, especially Black women, because we are always targeted, not even just by people of other races, but by our own people, by other women, by our men. And we're always judged so harshly. And I feel like people don't understand what we go through and how we have to hold space for other people all the time and neglect our needs. And so I want us to have that raw emotional, those raw emotional talks. Let those walls down, because we don't have to appear strong all the time, even though we're made to feel that way and we've been raised like that. We don't have to do that. Our bodies turn on us when we just hold everything in. That's when you start being sick, or you start having these mystery ailments or these mystery pains that people maybe can't diagnose and stuff all the time. And it's because we keep all this bullshit in, when a lot of times we need to cry. We might need to yell. We might need to journal. But we got to stop always trying to act like everything is okay, that we're strong, we can do it on our own, we don't need any help, when sometimes we just need a really good cry. Sometimes we need to verbalize, Mom, you hurt me. Mom, you left me. You left me when I needed you. And I know even for me, like, I've never had this conversation with my mom, but I have written letters, because I know that while she's in the religion, that a conversation expressing to her how I feel would probably go left, and it probably wouldn't go well, because the religion is what matters most. So to not set myself up for that, because that would probably be a really ugly situation, I helped myself, first of all, by journaling and writing a letter to my mom about all the things that, I have wanted to express to her. And after I got done writing it, I read it out loud. And I did this on a full moon too, which, I always talk about full moons and how they're good for releasing shit, that's heavy on you. And that's what I did. I lit a white candle, and I read the letter out loud. And after I got done, I burned it. I spread the ashes outside, and I went and I washed my hands. And I did all this while I was in front of a mirror. And, just to, get things out that I haven't been able to say to her, because I know I probably won't have that opportunity. But I think that's another thing that we have to realize too, that we cannot continue to hold grudges or hold on to all these strong, bitter emotions towards our parents, because it is going to be to our detriment. Holding a grudge or being mad at someone does not affect anyone but you. And so that's why I had to start working on how to learn how to release this stuff, because if not, I was going to be a hot mess. And so, this is an ongoing thing. It doesn't take one release letter or one conversation to fix 30 plus years of shit. It is a constant battle. And a lot of times when I feel like, I'm doing really good, I'm dealing with this, something hits me, boom, and I'm crying again. Or, and it could just be something so simple, but just know that it's tough to dig into a lot of stuff that you've buried for a long time. And you're going to get a whole array of emotions. One minute you might be crying. One minute you might be pissed. One minute you may be like bargaining with yourself. It's like you go through the 5 steps of grief when you're dealing with these hard situations. You'll think you're okay. Oh yeah, I'm good. Or you'll make excuses for them. That's bargaining. And then, or you'll get into denial, like that never happened. Then you start getting angry. It's like you go through all these steps until you finally hit acceptance. And acceptance really for me was saying, my mother has her own issues, her own shit that she has not dealt with, which caused her to, I'm not going to say she was a bad parent, because she was not, because she taught me how to make moves and how to make it in this world. She taught me the practical things of life. So I'm not discrediting her at all, because I am just like her in a sense. I'm very tough. I know how to get shit done. I'm a go-getter, and I got that from her, and I'm very appreciative for that, because she's a very smart woman, knows her shit, and is nice, nasty. Like she's like a star in that. And that's where I get that from. So I've always, really admired a lot of those qualities in her. And that's another thing we need to realize too. Our parents are not bad people. Our parents have good and bad qualities, like all of us. We all have good and bad shit with us. And so sometimes when it's hard to look at your parent, think about some of the good things that came from them, And even if you had the worst parent in the whole wide world, guess what? If they ain't give you nothing, they gave you an example of what not to do. Okay? So you can't ever say they didn't give you anything, because if that's the only thing they ever gave you, you got it. And I think that that's fantastic, because now you have a blueprint that that you're not going to do that. You're not going to do that to yourself. You're not going to do it to your kids. No, you know that you can do the opposite. You know that you don't have to live in the shadows of your family's traumas and generational curses. You don't have to do that. You can be whomever you want to be. You can have healthy relationships with others. You can have healthy relationships with your children. And even right now, if you are a parent and you feel like maybe you have not been the best parent that you could be, guess what? You can change it today. You don't have to stick with the same narrative. Take steps to fix it today. And I'm going to tell you what, if you are a parent that's listening right now, and you done some shit that wasn't right to your kids, maybe when you grew up, it is the past, but know that your kids are still affected by the things that you did back then. Time does not heal anything. Healing heals the bullshit, not time. So just because a lot of time has passed does not mean that your kid has forgotten the things that you have done to them or allowed to happen to them. So if you are a parent who maybe wants to mend their relationship with their child, start with an apology. And I mean a heartfelt apology. Not no, if you think I hurt you or if you think I didn't do a good job. No, cut that shit, because that's not an apology. Apologize to your child. Listen to what they have to say without trying to justify the bullshit that you did. Listen and take it. And it's going to hurt, because no one wants to hear bad things about themselves. So yeah, it's going to sting, but you owe that to your child. If you want to make a better relationship with them, to take it to the chin and apologize and move forward slowly. Don't just try to throw yourself on your kid to try to make things better. Go at their rate of that they're ready, because they're still unpacking a lot of shit. And so everyone just needs to be open-minded. You need to know that you have the ability to change. You need to enter into a situation with your heart open. And like I said, don't just do it for the likes. Don't just do it because it sounds good. Do it because you actually want to make things right. Okay? Don't do it for superficial reasons. Do it because if you don't approach someone with the right mindset and the right heart, they're going to smell bullshit a mile away and they'll never trust you again. So don't do that. Just, approach people with love. And like I said, ask for forgiveness and true forgiveness and admit to what you did, So, like I said, I'm thinking about turning this subject into multiple episodes because we're already like 50 minutes in and I haven't even gotten to like all the real steps and things that you can do, to help get through that. So stay tuned for the next episode so that you can, we're going to learn how to get through this together. Like I said, I've gotten through a lot of it, but obviously, like I said, I'm still very sensitive about it, obviously, because I cried for about 5 minutes. But, this is the good part, though, is that when you start healing and you start working on yourself, that's the thing. You may cry. You may uncover a lot of shit because you're ripping the Band-Aid off of that 30-plus-year-old wound. But guess what? You learn to become so resilient and you learn to be proud of yourself for doing it and being brave and facing the problems head on. And you just know, like, from this day forward, you're going to be able to deal with the situation better. Even if there's days that you get triggered, guess what? You may not stay down as long as you did before because you can talk yourself through the steps. You know why some things may have happened and you know how to deal with them. And that's all you do is you just repeat to yourself, I can get through this, and always remember that even if you feel alone in this world, you have ancestors that you can, pray to for help. You have God, spirit, whoever your higher being is. You always have support. You are never by yourself at all. Even if you don't trust anybody to talk to in person, you have them. And to be honest, those are the best people to talk to because they can't go tell your business. And they got the strength. They have the power to give you strength to make it through whatever issues you are going through. So you know how we always say that, we got that one praying grandma. Guess what? Even if she's still not here on this earthly realm with you, she's still praying for you and she's still watching over you. So just remember that you are never alone. And I always tell everyone, I am here also. Like, I'm not here to just pass on information and then you do with what you want. No, I am here literally as a support. I can be your support system if that's what you need, because I'm here to connect with people. And if I can pass on what I know to others to help them be more at peace, then that's what I'm here for. So please, if you're going through any issues or anything that I talk about and you feel like you need extra help, you need extra support, or someone just to vent to, like, I don't even have to say shit. Like, if you just need to vent and get it out your system, I am here. That's what I'm here for. So please feel free to reach out to me on my social media, through my email. I will post them in the show notes. And know that whatever you say or whatever you need to get off your chest, it's 100% confidential, never leaves between me and you. And it's literally just to help you heal. Like, that's it. And I know a lot of times, like I said, we're not very trustworthy with others, including especially women. We don't trust each other very much, but we have to start doing better and start learning, because who knows you better than your sister? Who knows you better than a woman who's probably going through the same exact shit that you're going through, who probably grew up in the same kind of environment that you grew up with? Those are the people that we need to turn to. And even if someone has not gone through the same exact issues that you have gone through, they can still offer you insight or maybe a different viewpoint on things. So we definitely need to learn how to start building our sisterhoods back up again, because we need each other. We really do. So please feel free to reach out. I am available all the freaking time, and if I don't get back to you immediately, I will get back to you at the most within 24 hours, unless there's an emergency of some type. But please, 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 please reach out for help, no matter who it may be. If you are going through a crisis or you need someone to talk to, you are not alone. Okay. Even the most put together looking people who look like they have it all don't. And they have their days. And that's why I'm here, ugly crying, ugly talking while I'm crying, because I want you to know that everybody has their problems. Everybody has their problems, but not everyone is brave enough to share them. And that's not to shame them, because, everybody doesn't have to be out and open with their shit. But I choose to be, so that I can help others. So please stay tuned for the next episodes, because we're going to be building off of this topic. And we're going to be talking about some signs, and maybe speaking of some things of maybe how signs to look out for, that maybe you do have a mother wound, inner child issue. And then maybe the episode after that, we'll talk about the actual practical steps that we can take to work on those and to be more at peace. And also, I want to let you all know before I go that I actually am working on opening up some coaching slots. So I'm excited about that. I was really, really nervous to do that because, imposter syndrome kicks in and you're like, well, who the hell are you to be somebody's coach or to tell them? But you know what I tell myself? I'm me. I'm Alyssa Michelle Clement Amison, and I am a woman. I am a mother. I'm a wife. I have gone through some bullshit. I have overcome a lot of it. And I feel very successful. I feel very at peace. And I feel like I can take on the world. Those are the only credentials I need. Because let me tell you what, everything is not about money or cars or homes or anything like that. Those are great. Because best believe I'm going to get my G-Wagon. Okay, I've already told y'all this. But peace of mind is invaluable. Like, nothing beats being at peace and being happy. And I'm there. That is a success story. That's the credentials that I need to help someone else. Okay. So please stay tuned for those announcements, because I will be opening up some coaching, whether it has to do with what we're talking about today, whether it has to do with relationship stuff, childhood traumas. If you're a newbie into spirituality, especially if you're coming from a religion and it's kind of hard for you to transition, I am your girl, because I've done all that stuff and I've, been successful at it. So hit me up if you would be interested in that. Like I said, I'll have all my information in the show notes, but I hope you all have a great, fantastic rest of the day. Thank you for rocking with me and bearing with me through my little rough moment today. But no, I'm not stopping. I'm not re-recording. You're going to hear all this vulnerability and rawness that I have for you today. So have a great one. And as always, be love, be light, but also be with the shits when necessary. Love y'all. Bye.